Moves on in, and he scores! He's gonna learn today.
Hello, and welcome to the Pod Street Bullies, folks. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
I have a feeling that was really overmodulated. The bars here are going crazy red right now.
Oh, yeah, it just sounded like roll, 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 roll.
Well, for those of you at home, I meant to say hello, 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 and welcome to the Pod Street Bullies. So in case you missed it the first time...
you say hello.
That's cute. That's cute.
Yeah, I don't know any of the other words.
I don't either. What commercial? It was in a commercial a while ago.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, anyway.
Regardless, folks, you are listening to the Pod Street Bullies. I am Derek. I'm on Twitter at PuckBobPSN. And John.
Yeah, I just introduced myself already.
I was going to let you do the honors here.
Oh, what about what?
Give us your Twitter name, your Twitter.
Oh, dude, you're throwing me for a loop. We do that at the end.
I know, but we do it at the end again.
Well, I don't want to do it twice. Anyway, my Twitter handle is at John P. Gove. And yeah.
Perfect. And then, what? Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, right. Spreaker, YouTube, everywhere.
Pod Muncher.
Look for us. Pod Muncher. God. Look, to really cut out the crap right now, it's going to be hard, I understand. But we've got a lot to get to this week because a lot happened. So if we're going to get to it, I think... I say, honestly, it's probably a good idea. Let's just skip the typical, story that we do and get right into some hockey. What do you think?
I'm with it, man. Let's do it.
Awesome. First on the docket, we have the preseason game Monday night against the Islanders. The rookie game's kind of old news.
Right.
We saw what we saw. We all drew our conclusions, so we're moving on to the preseason game against the Islanders. Give me a couple things for you, John, that stuck out. The most, whether you were impressed or not upset, but kind of a little like meh about.
Well, first, let me start off by saying I hate preseason everything. I know it doesn't make me seem like a good, like hockey media person or whatever, but preseason just bores the crap out of me. And I get that it's an opportunity to see, players playing for the first time and all that's exciting and all, but I need things that mean something. So I'm a bit of a Debbie Downer when it comes to that stuff. But But I did actually watch some of the game because, of course, I'm going to watch some of it even though I didn't enjoy it much. From a prospect standpoint, the thing that I think stood out the most for me was even though it was great to see Farabee playing, he kind of looked a step behind everybody else. When he was on the bench, you could also just tell he was sucking wind. Like, it took everything in that kid's being to kind of just keep up with the pace of the NHL game. So it's preseason. I don't want to put a whole lot of stock into much, and I'm not going to get out here and say that he stunk or anything like that, but I just think he might show that he might need a little bit of time in the AHL just to kind of get familiar with the pace of the game.
And that's to be expected, too, when you think about it. His motor, he was definitely on display. You could see that the guy was relentless. It dates back to the scouting reports coming out of, coming into the draft when he was drafted. The guy's got a relentless motor that was on display, but conditioning, something he can work on, obviously, and something he will work on. It comes.
And I don't want to go out and say he was out of shape because he was far from out of shape. I just think, this is a pace that he's never played before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a whole new level of intense, and there's a great amount of pressure. People are expecting you to make this team, especially now with Morgan Frost being hurt. I think that there's just a lot there for him, and you can kind of just see it all, kind of weighing on his shoulders throughout the game.
You definitely can. I don't want to say that it looked like he was trying to do too much, but because honestly he wasn't. Right. But you could definitely tell that this is his mentality going into this is that it's a tryout, and he wants to make the team, and it's evident. But he also has to remain the same player that got him into this place in the first place. He can't change his game and mold it. He's successful having gotten to where he is by doing what has made him successful.
And he kind of acknowledged that in the interviews too, that there were some times where he really played it safe and just kind of dumped pucks in when he maybe could have done a little bit more. So he acknowledges that there's changes that need to be made. But I mean, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and be like it was an awful game, because it wasn't. No. I just think that when you want somebody to be ready to make the team coming out of camp or preseason, it wasn't the game you wanted to see.
You're right. And speaking of make the team, I'm going to make my point here. I think, and this dates back to the rookie game, I think it weighs more heavily on me than this one. But Yerman Rubtsov.
Right.
I really think that if there's a rookie, I guess you can call him a rookie. He only played 14 games last year, but
he's definitely a rookie.
Yeah, that's the guy for me. I think he's making the team. That 2-goal performance looked great. He's sharp. He's quick. He's got the physical makeup of an NHL player. I really think Rubtsov is cut out for the NHL this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think all the cards are kind of falling in his favor at this point. I mean, again, we'll reference the Frost injury. I mean, it's regardless of how long he's actually out for, it doesn't help that he's going to be missing preseason games.
Of course.
And I mean, if there's signs that Farabee might not be quite ready, then they're not gonna force it. So it kind of makes Rubtsov the best candidate if you pick a rookie to take that spot.
It does. I agree. And then moving on from there, I guess just a couple other general statements and observations. We saw Justin Braun make his debut in orange and black, and I couldn't be more impressed, honestly.
It is what we need.
Yes. Remember, I think we were running through the defense a few weeks back, and I said that Justin Braun is what we all wanted Robert Haig to be, but much better.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's right on par. Great active stick, blocking shots, disrupting passing lanes. I think he would be a great fit on a really porous penalty kill for the Flyers, and that could definitely help.
Right. Well, they just need someone who's defensively disciplined at this point.
That's JB.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, he's not going to light up the lamp. That's fine. That's not his role. And I think that he gave fans a very good look at what he could bring to the table.
You're right.
It was one preseason game, but so far it looks pretty good.
You're right. Another guy, too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know what else looks good?
Me?
Kevin Hayes, JVR, and Voracek on a line.
Not the route I was going to go, but you're right.
I loved it. I thought that they played great together.
The chemistry was definitely on display with that goal. Hayes feeding it across almost the length of, not the length, but the width of the ice to Voracek. Voracek sliding it to JVR right in front of the net. That was, I love seeing chemistry like that this early in the preseason.
And what I liked about Hayes was he was able to hold on to that puck and just maneuver enough, right, to get everybody else set up for that goal to happen.
His puck control is great.
Yeah. So you have that. You have a pretty good playmaker in Voracek and somebody who can finish in JVR. I think that's a perfect second line right there.
I agree. I think Hayes is going to fit right in and hopefully do better than your predicted hat trick in the first night and then goalless until December. But remains to be seen,
Still overpaid, but
yeah.
Anyway.
At least, you know what? I could see him making a case to come out at the end of the season and say, you know what? $7 million was more worth it than many thought at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You also wanted to touch on one more thing, which when you told me pre-show, I was like, I absolutely agree. So I want you to take the lead with this one here, too.
All right. Yeah, so the Chris Stewart fight.
Yes.
First of all you analytics people who are bitching about this, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but bitching about this, go to hell. This guy, is fighting for his pro hockey life right now, literally and figuratively. Okay, he needs to do something to stand out. And old Chris Stewart, if he's just playing a regular game of hockey, is not going to stand out. So what does he do? He kicks Kyle Burrow's ass. Well, he stood out, so he's making his point to make the team. Now, will he? At the end of it, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. But at least he's doing everything he can to make that argument, especially because he got laid out.
Oh, man. Yeah, Kyle Burrows. I mean, and it was high, and that's why Stewart went after him. But,
Right.
man, I loved the fact that after he dropped him, he's going into the penalty box, and he kind of looks back over his shoulder, looks back straight ahead into the box, and just nods his head. He's like, yeah, I did that.
Yep.
Like, honestly, if that guy takes a fourth line spot, I'm not going to be upset.
No, I mean, and he's far from fast, and I get the knock on that, but it's just like, you got some of these people who are like the analytics darlings. They're like, absolutely not. People are getting excited about a fight. Well, because, fighting's exciting. And to me, I go further than that and just go, you know what? He's laying it all out on the line here. He knows he has to kind of stand out in some way, and that's how he's going to do it.
These analytics people are getting upset because there's no chart, graph, or number to represent heart. And that's what Chris Stewart displayed last night, Monday night.
I'm sure they could make up a heat map that has to do with fighting and heart. I mean, it could just BS like the rest of them.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that I won't pay any attention to it. That map, at least.
I might put it on a Wait What segment.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, if Stevie's listening, you've got your task for next week, pal.
Stevie heat maps.
I'm loving this fired up John Gove, man.
Oh, yeah, he's been on the bench for a few weeks, but he's ready to rumble, baby.
Oh, it's like Chris Stewart here.
Right. Yeah, not as old. I also didn't play hockey in London.
That's
or
true.
In Canada or in the United States. Anyway, did you have anything else about this game?
Nothing really. I added a little tidbit about Myers. I'd like him on the PK as well. But, I think if he takes that sixth defenseman spot, which is almost assured to him at this point, then we'll probably see him on there because they'll try to save some minutes for guys like Provorov and Niskanen and maybe even Gostisbehere, because Gostisbehere is better on the penalty or power play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, I think it's time to move on to the big news of the week because we've got two little tidbits, big tidbits really, that we want to touch on.
Kind of about time tidbits, if you will.
Yeah, something we spent a lot of time discussing about a month ago when they hadn't signed yet. And now, folks, we have a complete roster.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on the guy that signed first. On Friday, September 14th, Ivan Provorov signed a 6-year deal worth $40.5 million, $6.75 per year.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
I'll tell you, I am. I was a little surprised because I thought that Werenski's deal was going to mean bridge deal.
Me too. I did too.
But, I mean, 6 years at $6.5 million, I'm fine with. You get a little hesitant because of the down year he had, and everybody's starting to worry, like maybe what kind of player is Provorov really, and all that junk. But I think he's going to be worth $6.75 million.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too how Steve Kornianos from the Draft Analyst pointed out that this deal's very similar to what St. Louis gave Alex Pietrangelo in 2013-14 after his third full season. He got 7 years for $6.5 million. And look at him now. Pietrangelo's probably one of the better defensemen in the league and plays a somewhat similar game to Provorov.
Yeah, I mean, and there were reports of $9-10 million. Like,
ooh.
I'm perfectly fine with this. Yeah, I mean, I was really nervous that we were going to way overpay for this guy.
At the end of the day, now that news has come out about McAvoy signing as well, Provorov is the highest paid out of the three, but he also got the most term.
Right.
So it makes sense because bridge deals typically aren't going to pay you out what you're going to make over a 6, 7, 8-year deal.
Right. I mean, and now Columbus and Boston run the risk of having to super pay these guys.
And likely it'll happen because Werenski and McAvoy I don't think are going to get any worse.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, good deal. I don't think there's anybody out there that can really poke holes in this deal. I think if Provorov lives up to the expectation that's been, put on his shoulders, he'll live up to this deal. Yeah.
And I mean, also, I think that $6.75 million helps with if for some reason he turns out to not be your number one defenseman, you can still go and give someone else that kind of money with this contract.
You're right. And especially with the money coming off the books in these next couple years, Niskanen's $5-6 million and Braun's 4.2 or 3.8, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah, somewhere around in that ballpark. You've got money coming. 3.8. So You've got money coming off the books in the next couple years. If Provorov doesn't regain his form, hey, so be it. It's a little worse than a McDonald contract, but I'm sure he's still going to play a hell of a lot better than Andrew McDonald.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see. At worst, he's going to be still a 3-4 kind of defenseman.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
another interesting thing I like, and that I wanted to point out too, Chris Vaccaro was at the rookie game last week, and he tweeted out a picture of Provorov and his son. If you look at that photo, I'm assuming you've seen the photo, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see just how happy Provorov looks. Like, a genuine happiness in his face. And he was at that game with his agent, and right there should have said something about his chances of re-signing. But just the happiness you could see in Provorov's face, it's like, that guy loves Philadelphia.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and, I don't think anybody can really give him crap for holding out as long as he did. Do you even call it holding out, or do you only call that holding out like when games are starting to be played?
I know there was a whole to-do about that. Like, it's not a holdout, it's contract negotiations. It's like, yeah, I get that, but everybody knows.
But he wasn't the only one.
You're right.
So he was just kind of following the trend. It's not like he was doing it to be a pain in the rear end.
No, and it's obviously worth pointing out that his agent has notoriously been one of the more difficult ones to deal with.
Right.
So it's only fair that he waited out a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think it looks like he got what he wanted.
Oh, totally. And you know what? He's signed now. He's not going to miss any games that matter. It will be all good.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm so glad that we have him under contract, and I think it's hilarious. Hilarious, I guess it toes that line, that when we talked about this earlier, you were like, I think it's going to drag out into the season. And look who was right. This guy. Me.
Dude, shut up.
I just wanted to take 3 seconds to toot my own horn.
No, you were wrong. I was just doing it for shock value.
Yeah, of course you were.
Uh-huh.
Well, I guess there's nothing really crazy about the structure of the contract. He's got his signing bonuses after year one of 2, 3, 2, 3, and 2. Base salary 6.75 year one, and then 2.75.
I don't even care.
Yeah,
I don't even care. The only thing I care about is the cap hit. Yeah. And the cap hit remains the same.
Exactly. So not really much to do there, and the only really thing that I guess will segue into the next segment here is we went from, Konecny's going to sign first. All signs are pointing to that. It's Provorov that's going to give us fits. And then now it's like, I guess Konecny's at an impasse over arguing over ice time. And, I produce so much with such little time on ice, and it's Hackstall's fault. And all to do about nothing, because guess what? Konecny just signed, and we have our forward back.
Right. I mean, we just needed something to panic about.
Oh, yeah. Flyers Twitter needed something to get their panties in a bunch about, and that's what it was. And now they've moved on to something else.
Did this contract kind of surprise you, though?
Oh, yeah. I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
Yeah, it surprised me, too.
Everybody, Martitas was one of the first to come out and say, his guess on it and what his sources were saying at, 4.5, 4.25, around that ballpark. And 5.5, yeah, it's a bit steep, but at the same rate for 6 years, with his trajectory in mind, we could be paying $5.5 million for a potential 30 to 40 goal scorer. So,
that's the thing, right? You're paying for what he's projected to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first maybe 1 or 2 years, you might not think that he's earning that. But like you just said, if he starts scoring 30 to 40 goals a season and you're going, oh, wow, we're paying him $5.5 million for the next 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, when this contract expires, people are going to look at it and say, that was a good contract. Little easier to poke holes in this one as opposed to Provorov's just because of the AAV being a bit high, but like, okay, if you factor in the fact that, again, Konecny is a great goal scorer, and it's evidenced by his even strength scoring, which is second or third to, I think, a handful of people.
Right.
You know, I think I got it jotted down here. It's Jordan Hall and Brandon Murphy both tweeted something out earlier this week and late last week. Over the past 2 seasons, TK has the same number of even strength goals as Sidney Crosby and David Pastrnak, and he has more than Artemi Panarin. Murphy included names like Matt Duchene, Jonathan Toews, Jack Eichel, Malkin, Evgeny Malkin, Mark Scheifele, Phil Kessel, Patrick Laine, even Steven Stamkos. He has more even strength goals than those guys.
Right, and people might go, well, it's because of the line he's on. Well, guess what? That line's not going anywhere. Yeah. So I don't care if it's because of the line he's on.
Yeah, half those people are probably scoring the goals they are because of the line they're on as well. So, that argument doesn't hold much weight in my mind.
No. I mean, again, it's more than I thought it was going to be, but I also didn't expect a 6-year term. I thought for sure this was going to be a bridge deal.
Yeah, all signs pointed towards it. All sources, all people talking about it, we all thought it was going to be a bridge deal, so it fooled me too.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think that we'll end up really liking this deal. Just right now, it seems a little puzzling.
Yeah, now, I also wanted to touch on here, do you think that, we all know that Vigneault made it pretty clear when Konecny wasn't in camp that he was displeased, very disappointed that TK is not here. He said, quote, "It's the start of a new era, a new group. I felt that it was very important for everybody to be here." Basically touching on the fact that he's going to fall behind because it's a new system and everything. Do you think those comments, paired with the one that was directed towards Nolan Patrick, even though Patrick was injured, he was still at the facility, learning, hanging out with the team, doing, what he could. Do you think that affected anything with negotiations for Konecny and his agent, or even the Flyers for that matter?
I don't know if it affected any sort of negotiations. Because at that point, like that initial, for lack of a better word, it sounds a little dramatic, but the initial damage is kind of done there. I think more of an argument could be made that maybe it affects that like initial relationship, and maybe it's a little bit rocky, and maybe Vigneault hesitates playing Konecny a lot until he can kind of understand the system more.
Hopefully it just won't be to the extent of Dave Haxtell where he's like, let's bench him a couple games. Let's bring it back on the third line.
I think that AV is going to just make Konecny earn it. And when Konecny, seems to be succeeding, he's just going to go, okay, never mind. I don't think that Vigneault is there to prove a point. He's there to win Stanley Cups. And if Travis Konecny is going to give the best opportunity, which he is, Vigneault is not going to just, be a hard ass for the sake of being a hard ass. Dave Haxtell did that because he was a moron.
I can't disagree with you. I mean,
it's not like he had any success as an NHL head coach. He was just being an idiot. I don't expect Vigneault to be the same kind of idiot.
No, Vigneault's proven he's a very smart guy. And you're right. I think he's going to make Konecny earn it. But at the end of the day, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Konechny's going to earn it.
Right.
Another thing, too, that I thought was interesting is the time on ice argument. Let's excuse me. Let's revisit and let's go back to Sunday, if you will.
Okay.
No contract. Konecny,
right.
His agent, Flyers are talking. This time on ice argument, is that bolstering Konechny's case, or is that bolstering the Flyers' case?
For him to make more money?
Yeah, if it's bolstering the Flyers' case, it's bolstering the fact that they want to pay him less. If it's bolstering Konechny's, it's vice versa. He wants more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it only can work in Konechny's favor. I mean, the guy scored 24 goals and he averaged 15 minutes on ice.
True. It's I could see both sides to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but at this point, at that point, it's all just posturing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, another thing I found interesting too, in the last 2 years of his contract, he has a no trade / no movement clause as well.
So if he's not quite playing worth that 5.5,
they're stuck with him.
They're stuck with him.
Or
I don't
if
know.
he is, then it's just extra security that he'll stay there.
Right, and I don't mind it. I mean, you said it's the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think by the third year, you're going to know whether or not he's going to be worth this amount of money. So by the third or fourth year, you start trying to deal him, knowing that he has that no movement clause. But I don't really foresee that being a problem.
No, yeah, he's 22 right now. So
Yeah.
the fourth year he'll be 26. That's, right around prime time for him.
Right.
Yeah, so I really do think, this is a great contract. I think, obviously, yeah, maybe a little too high at first, but when you kind of delve into what Konechny's capable of, especially at 5-on-5, I think that 5.5 is pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think it might seem a little steep maybe this year. But after that, I think he's going to earn it and probably surpass it.
Yeah, that seemed to be the trend with these two contracts, was that Fletcher, like you said earlier, banked on the fact that they would live up to these contracts. It's not like in the past where you're paying for past performances.
Right.
Which I love.
Well, yeah, and I also think he understands that over these next couple of years, he's going to have to pay other people. I mean, yes, there'll be other contracts off the books, but you have a bunch of other guys who are going to be up for new contracts. So he wants to kind of lock down what he believes is going to be the future core of this team.
It's similar to the Couturier contract that was handed out. I mean, he's the biggest bargain in the NHL, but don't ask that guy that thinks it's Bo Horvat, because God forbid. Yeah, dunce. But, yeah, so this could turn out to be a minor bust, but it could also turn out to be a major bargain. So
right.
High risk,
right.
Maybe not, I won't say high risk, but definitely high reward.
Oh, yeah. No, overall, I think they're both good enough contracts.
Oh, yeah. Nothing more for me to add other than awesome. Let's do that hockey.
Let's do that hockey.
So, if there's nothing else we want to touch on here with these signings, we're going to move on. We have the Twitter question that we posed to you folks. We wanted you to give us a topic that we could debate here, I guess you could say. A two-sided topic, either this way or that way. And
Yep.
We got a couple good ones. We had to scratch the one because it had to do with Provorov not signing, but he already signed, so it's not pertinent anymore.
Right.
And if we're going to jump right into it, our first one comes from Papa John. And Papa John asks, old format versus new format as it pertains to the NHL playoffs. To clarify that, the old format is the top 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs regardless of division. The new format, obviously, is the top 3 teams from each division and 2 wildcard teams from each conference make the playoffs. So, John, what I figured we would do here is I'm going to have you take the side that you want to take, and I'm going to play a somewhat of a devil's advocate.
Oh, okay.
And we'll have some fun with this.
Yeah, this is all about having fun. I mean, there's one question later on that I don't necessarily agree with the argument that I'm going to make, but I'm just going to have a lot of fun making that argument. So, but this one I actually do agree with. I agree with the old format. I'll even go a little bit further in a second, but I think that it should be the top 8 teams of each conference because I think it should be the best teams in the conference. It shouldn't matter what division they are. And to go a little further, I would be all for just wiping out the whole conference thing too and just having the top 16 teams in the NHL, the best teams from that season play in the playoffs and just go a 1 through 16 seed and do the thing. I just feel like there's some times where because of the division they're in, you have some teams that shouldn't be in the playoffs based off of what they did in the regular season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fair. Internally, yes, I agree with you. But again, to play devil's advocate here, if you're going to do that, and with the playoff format the way it is now, I think it's more fun to watch the playoff race when there's also a wild card involved. Because not only are you watching that race for the top 3 per division, you're watching that wild card race too, and it's two completely different races. And it's just, I think it adds more entertainment value because there's just more going on. There's more at stake. You know, as with any, you could take the top 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. There's going to be that race for the last couple spots every time. But with this, there's that race with 2 different kind of like entities, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my biggest positive, I guess, of the new format.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it dilutes the importance of the regular season sometimes because, like, it's not always the best teams getting into the playoffs.
You're right. And to kind of stray away from the whole devil's advocate role here, I agree with you, and I like the old format because you get the best teams from each conference. But, like you said, let's say you've got 9 Eastern Conference teams. All of them have 98.5 points, and the 8th place team in the Western Conference only has 87. You're getting a lesser quality team if you're going to base that quality off of points. But, you know, it's the conference. That's just the way that the league is divided.
No, and I get the whole anything happens once you get in thing, but I just feel like if you want the regular season to mean the most, right, you just award the top 16 teams.
Yeah, this isn't like the NBA when you know who's going to win every year at the beginning of the season.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That was a good one. I think that's a really good foot to start off on.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that is brought up every year around playoff time too.
Yeah, and it's always fun to discuss because there's always options.
Yeah.
Now, do we entertain this next one?
Well, I mean, he is a jerk.
He is.
I guess we could do it quick.
All right, bigger clown, you or me?
Oh, you.
Me?
Yeah.
Now, I should say this is from Carrie, the guy that won't stop heckling Applebee's on Twitter. So if anybody who works at an Applebee's is listening, I'm sorry if you have anything to do with their social media accounts. This guy can be a real dick.
And I can't understand why he gives us such a hard time. We're nothing but nice to him.
You're right. We're essentially saints to this guy. You know, we even invited him over for dinner earlier this week. And he declined. It wasn't even a polite decline. He was like, "No, I'm not coming over." I'm like, "Fine, you're missing out on some awesome grilling of mine."
Stop being mean, Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie.
But anyway, you're the bigger clown.
I can't even play devil's advocate here.
Yep. All right, next one.
Yeah. Next one comes from our buddy Matthias Westerlund. And he asks, what kind of line assembly is best? And by line assembly, we're going to look at the 4 lines. So his 2 options here, he listed 4 good lines or 3 good lines and 1 grit line. So like a typical 4th line, your grinder type of player.
Right.
So John, which line assembly here are you going with?
I mean, in today's game, the grit line, that traditional bruiser 4th line is just kind of dead. It's such a faster game now that even though players who still have that grit are valuable, a whole line it slows you down. You want to be able to churn out 4 good lines so teams, don't feel like they get a break every 4th switch. You know what I mean?
You're right. But on the contrary to that, you've got to think that 4th line, like you said, it could be a break. It could also be one hell of a task because you're playing against 3 grinders. And those guys are going to do whatever they can to wear you down. Physically, they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that when you get back on the bench, you look on the ice and you're like, dang, and you're huffing and puffing and you're tired. So what that does...
But you're huffing and puffing because you just skated laps around them.
Yeah, but at the same time, huffing and puffing is still huffing and puffing.
Yeah, but you probably scored 4 goals in the process.
Well, that could be made up if if the team's good enough, if the other three lines are good enough. But what it also does is could create some favorable matchups down the line where, let's say, Flyers and Pens are playing. Your first line, the Pens' first line's out there. You've got Crosby, Gensel, and whoever the hell's playing the other line or the other wing. And you've got a fourth line out there with Raffle, Pitlick, and Lawton. Those guys are going to grind them down, and they're going to be tired. And what that does is allows your first line to take minutes against a lesser line from Pittsburgh. So it gives you a favorable matchup for, 2 minutes, what it may be, but still, in those 2 minutes, they can make the best of it, especially if it's Couturier, Konecny, and Giroux.
I also, though, would make the argument that that's not really a traditional grit line either. I think that those are all capable hockey players, who can do much more than just bruise bodies.
I guess it does boil down to what your definition of that grit line is. Like if you're looking for a line of goons, like 10 years ago with the Flyers, they had Carcillo and Shelley and Asham. You're not going to get that in the NHL. You might have a goon on the team, but that goon still can play much better than the goons of yesteryear.
Right.
So it boils down to the definition.
Right. And now kind of like the new grit line is just they don't produce as much offense.
You're right. They'll chip in a goal here and there, but they're not going to put up, the 40, 50 points that you wouldn't want a fourth line to produce that. You would, but it's not feasible.
Are you kidding me?
You would want that. I apologize. I should word that differently. But you're not going to get that from a fourth line. If you're not Tampa Bay, you're not going to get it.
Well, I think back to the Rangers. I think when Vigneault was coach, or was it the Rangers or the Islanders, and they just had a really good fourth line. I think it might have been the Islanders, right?
Martin and Clutterbuck and Kazikis, I think.
Yeah, Cizikas.
Kazikis makes me think of gyros and tzatziki sauce.
They were still tough as hell, but they could play two-way hockey. Well enough.
Oh, yeah. They were deemed one of the best fourth lines in hockey and probably one of the better fourth lines in our generation, at least.
Right.
Yeah. But they also were tough as nails. Clutterbuck, Martin consistently were in the top 10 in hits laid for every year.
Right.
So, again, definition, what it is, I guess, kind of deems what role we'd go with here.
Right.
Yeah. So we get to our last one, and it comes from The Veil. Mm-hmm. And it's the RFA argument. That's kind of what I've deemed it. And basically the two sides are players who hold out beyond the start of camp should be traded due to commitment questions versus players who hold out beyond the start of camp don't need to be traded and don't have commitment questions. So I doubt you need any further explanation. So, John, tell us which side you're hanging your hat on here.
So this is the one I'm going to have a little fun with. First of all, I think it's all circumstantial, but I'm going to go with players who hold out beyond the start of camp should be traded due to commitment questions. Listen, if you're not signing your contract the day that it opens up where you can sign a contract, then you don't really want to be here, and I don't want you here. So get out.
Wow.
No, but no, in a realistic way to look at it is if they're holding out at the start of camp and you start to wonder if they're going to make the preseason, whether it's going to bleed into the regular season, I think you should at least consider trading them because you're not really sure what's going on here. And maybe this person really isn't showing they really want to play with you. And if you can get really good assets for them, go for it. But like I said, it's very circumstantial. The case that you could argue that maybe it should have happened was Nylander last year.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because of how far it went. And then he signed, and then look what happened. They had pretty much a waste of a year.
Yeah, and he didn't even do that well.
Right. But, if a player really wants to play for you, he should play for the lowest amount of money possible. So, yeah, commitment issues all the way.
Yeah. I'm actually going to take my stance and say I completely disagree. I get where you're coming from, and I like the fact that the option is on the table to trade the guy for a haul because guys like Provorov, the people that did, I guess, if you want to call it holdout, the guys that took too long to sign their contracts, think of what you could get. I mean, a McAvoy, a Werenski, a Marner. Braden Point hasn't signed yet. Kachuk, Rantanen, all those guys. You could get a hellish haul for those guys. So
Right.
I guess it's, you know...
But would you still be getting less value, though, because these teams know that you're kind of in a tough spot?
I don't think so, because it's your player, so you have to set the market. And at the end of the day, the trade's not going to happen unless you say it's going to happen. So you're in the driver's seat. You either say, hey, he's on the market, give me your best offer, and wait until the perfect offer comes along, or you hold on to the guy and work out the contract negotiations. But that's not to say you can't be working on that contract while still fielding trade calls.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
No, I mean, actually, before we go, because I know we're going to wrap it up, I do have a question for you now that we're kind of towards the end of the offseason.
Of course, yeah.
Well, we are at the end of the offseason because preseason's here.
Yeah.
Are you surprised there weren't any more offer sheets?
I am. And now, we've heard reports about Marner having 2 on the table, or multiple. I think it was 2, but he
Right.
turned them down. That doesn't surprise me, just because of the caliber of player that Mitch Marner is. If reports were to come out and say that once Marner signed, which he has now, those offers were thrown down on the table for a Kachuk or for a Point or a Rantanen, it also wouldn't surprise me, because there's still teams out there that have a lot of money to play with. Columbus especially, because their roster, 1, is depleted, and 2, they have a lot of money to spend and
Yep.
some talent to make up for the fact that they lost a lot. So it would not surprise me if it came out later that Columbus was one of those teams.
Right.
I'm
I'm just surprised there really weren't any others signed.
yeah,
I was hoping for at least 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, the Aho one, I mean, I didn't picture Aho being one to be offer sheeted, but at the same rate, it definitely makes sense. It just doesn't make sense that the value of the offer sheet, because that's Carolina literally laughed in their face
Right.
and was like, we're
Yeah.
matching this.
Right.
Now, if someone were to say, hey, we're going to throw Rantanen $8 million, because let's be honest, aside from the Marner deal, that's the highest contract that's been dished out this summer for RFAs.
Right.
Someone says, hey, we want Rantanen, we want Kachuk for $8 million a year. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Calgary. It's going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be tough for Colorado. But
Look at Tampa.
Oh, yeah. Tampa's a prime candidate. We've talked about it before.
Right. I mean, still, they're going to have to sign Point, and I feel like they're going to have to move some contracts. And, this is not the time you want to be doing that.
No, they did a lot of that at the draft and during free agency, getting rid of
Was it
JT
enough,
Miller,
though?
Callahan. I don't think it is, but at the same rate, more can happen, and
Right.
maybe they just go a little cheaper and bring up a rookie to play with some of the talent they already have, and that saves them a little bit of money. They stash one of the bigger contracts down in the AHL, giving them a little bit of cap relief, but
Right.
maybe just enough to slide Point under that cap mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with you there. I definitely think it's a shock that there weren't as many offer sheets thrown out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. But guys, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, everyone listening, this has been the Pod Street Bullies. This has been our recap of the week, and it's going to get a little more, I don't want to say informal, but we're going to have some games to recap here. We're going to have some more substance.
Actual hockey to talk about.
Exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself. There's going to be, we still have one episode stashed away because we literally had to scrap our format for this episode because of the news with Provorov, with Konecny, with the rookie game, preseason game. But it was a good idea because this needed to be talked about.
Right. I mean, who knows? We might still scrap it anyway, depending on what else happens.
Yeah, if we've got more interesting things to talk about than what we had planned, we're just going to say screw it and just kind of roll with the punches.
Yep.
But for now, folks, John, I shouldn't say folks, John, please let us know again where these fine folks listening will be able to find you on Twitter?
Because I love repeating myself. You can find me on Twitter at
it.
John P. Gove. You can find my articles at Philly Sports Network. Just got back into the teaching game of things, so my articles have been a little lax recently, but I'm in the middle of putting one together on the 3 prospects who might be under the most pressure this season, kind of taken from one of the episodes we did, but you should look for that because it'll be there soon.
Yes, it will. And you'll be able to find me on Twitter at PuckBobPSN. You'll be able to find my work on Philadelphia Sports Network. I've been actually writing a lot more articles than I have in the past.
You've been killing it.
I wouldn't say killing it, but I'm at least happy with the fact that I'm putting out a couple articles a week as opposed to the 1 or 2 that I used to.
You're killing it.
Thanks, man.
Shut up. You're killing it.
All right, I'm killing it, folks.
All right.
But also, please follow our Instagram. You can find us. It's Pod Street Bullies. We're pretty easy to find there. Follow us, subscribe to us, and write us a review on Apple Podcasts, please. We won't beg you, but we'll beg you.
Ooh, and the Fantasy Hockey League still has like 3 spots, so get at us.
Yes, you will not want to miss the opportunity to finish second to me in fantasy hockey. So, folks, let us know. We've had people respond to us through email, Twitter, everything. Just get at us. Let us know you want to play some hockey. We're going to have some fun with it. There's going to be trash talk. You'll get the trash talk with the kings of trash talk here.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. So, with that being said, this is it for us. And, folks, you have a wonderful rest of your week now that there's actual hockey to watch. And, as always, meaning more now than it has in the past 2-3 months, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.